Middle East. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the big show. And we're starting off with something that you've been promised, that's been dangling in front of you your entire life like a carrot. And you've been told, oh, well, we've got a new deal. We've got the Oslo Accords, or we've got the new Fatah and the Palestinian Authority arrangement, and we're working toward a two-state solution. And we just signed this new deal with Yasser Arafat. And then we got the Abraham Accords. And there have been many claims for progress or peace, and it's never worked. Will this one work? Well, Donald Trump had a press conference this morning where, look, do you mind if I just play you like 3 straight minutes of this where he's covering it? Because I don't want to have to paraphrase everything. I think it means so much more if you hear it from the president himself.
So I want to thank everybody for being here. As you know, last night we reached a momentous breakthrough in the Middle East, something that people said was never going to be done. We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace. And I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace. Peace in the Middle East. We secured the release of all of the remaining hostages, and they should be released on Monday or Tuesday. Getting them is a complicated process. I'd rather not tell you what they have to do to get them. There are places you don't want to be, but we are getting the hostages back on Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, and that'll be a day of joy. I'm going to try and make a trip over. We're going to try and get over there, and we're working on the timing, the exact timing. We're going to go to Egypt, where we'll have a signing, an additional signing. We've already had a signing representing me, but we're going to have an official signing. And the amazing thing is all of the countries over there, from Qatar to Saudi Arabia to UAE to all of them, I mean, the rich ones, the less than rich ones, they've all come together, something which is amazing, actually. They've all come together for this, and they're really probably the best relationships they've ever had. So it's been really something incredible that nobody thought it was possible to get it done. And very importantly, the hostages are coming back. As you know, they consider them hostages. They talk about them as hostages, but there are approximately 28 dead people, mostly young, mostly men, but and boys. I mean, boys. The one woman talked about her baby. Her baby's 25 years old, but to her it's her baby, and we're bringing them home. We're getting everything, and to those parents, the dead young man is just as important, as though this person were alive. It's amazing. I've never seen anything quite like it. I've been very much involved. I've never seen anything quite like it. But it's really peace in the Middle East. And you remember October 7th was terrible, but also from the Hamas standpoint, they probably lost 70,000 people. That's big retribution. That's big retribution. But at some point, that whole thing has to stop, and we're going to see to it. Gaza is going to be slowly redone. You have tremendous wealth in that part of the world by certain countries, and just a small part of that, what they make will do wonders for Gaza. And I think you're going to see some tremendous countries stepping up and putting up a lot of money and taking care of things. But there's tremendous spirit like I haven't seen. And even the news, I won't call it fake news for this purpose, because they really were very fair today, I must tell you, in all cases. But they covered it very well. They covered it very fairly. Everybody loves it. Everybody.
What the heck is going on? We might have peace in the Middle East. We have Trump actually saying nice things about the media. We have half of the IRS getting laid off. It's like, what is going on? Like the nature is healing itself? Now, I'm cautiously optimistic about this because, I mean, how many times have you been promised peace in the Middle East? How many times have these agreements been signed, and then within a matter of months or, sometimes years, the people tend to forget about these agreements. But Rick and Past Christiane sent me an email, james@wbap.com, if you'd like to send me an email. But he says what a lot of us are thinking, because this is almost exactly what I was thinking too. He says, James, what happens next week when Hamas stiffs us and keeps the hostages while they delay and drag their feet. They can't give up their only leverage. And why would they think they'll be treated better by Israelis no matter what's promised by foreigners? Israel wants them all dead, and they know it. Capitulation at this late stage doesn't buy much leniency. Too many hostages coming home in a box. They'll abandon their last fallback, scurry to the shadow, and bide their time. They have never treated honestly. Look, this is what he wrote. They have never treated honestly before, except when compelled to at gunpoint. Why start now? Yeah, dude, all that skepticism, absolutely understandable. In fact, warranted, given what we've all observed from previous deals in that part of the world. But, what happens next week when Hamas stiffs us and keeps the hostages? So that's the first good point Rick makes here. But we'll have the answer to that because you heard in the Trump soundbite I just played. We're supposed to be getting the hostages back Monday or Tuesday. So that's the first hurdle we have to jump in the skepticism race. And we should all be super skeptical about this, by the way. But we'll find out Monday or Tuesday. So we'll really know by Wednesday if the first part of this agreement is going to go forward. If there's any kind of delay or changing of the minds, or they came up with some new excuse to not do it, then the whole thing, you just forget about it. It's all blown up, and we got to start all over again. But he also says they can't give up their only leverage. Why do they think they'll be treated better by the Israelis, no matter what's promised by foreigners? Well, before October 7th, Hamas wasn't holding Israeli hostages, and the Israelis weren't trying to wipe them out. Which makes me question your next sentence, Rick in Past Christian, when he says Israel wants them all dead. If Israel wanted all of them dead, they would be dead already. Remember, Israel shot down 200 missiles and drones and whatnot that was coming from Iran, all fired at the same time. They have the firepower to do it. They have the bombs to do it. If they wanted to genocide the Palestinians, it would have been done already. They already have the excuse to do it. Hell, October 7th is a good enough excuse to just bomb that whole place into oblivion. And it's not like a big atrocity to bomb Gaza into oblivion. It's not even the size of the Metroplex here. Like the whole Gaza Strip is the size of like 3 counties in East Texas. So we'll find out. I appreciate the skepticism. I share quite a bit of it. I hope there's a peace deal. I don't know. I really don't understand. And here's the part where I really agree with Rick and Pastor Christian. So they give all the hostages back. They're allowed to live. They start to rebuild. What makes me think that, a year from now, 2 years from now, they're not going to be back on the let's kill all Jews train from the river to the sea? Is that all going to go away? Are you really going to change the mindset that's been instilled in them through generations of indoctrination and hatred and warfare and violence? That seems like a pretty big stretch here, but we're about to find out. So peace in the Middle East. You think this will hold? You think this will happen? You think it's all going to fall apart within a week? Because if there is peace in the Middle East, then there's some other dominoes that need to fall, and we'll talk about that next. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. We're talking about the Middle East peace deal on The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Peace in the Middle East is what's on the table on the James Show. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. And yes, Kenneth sent me a message on Facebook. Said, can you share the Biden top 10 book names again? Hilarious. You know what? I'll be doing an update to that later in the show. If you missed it on yesterday's show, it was announced that Biden got a $10 million book deal for his memoirs, and we came up with a bunch of fake titles for it. And I asked you to submit yours. Well, a ton of people did. So last night after the show, I compiled them all, and I'll be reading through them probably in the last segment of the show. So if you can come back or stick around for that, that'd be great. If you want to add your fake title for Biden's memoirs, James at WBAP.com or Facebook message or whatever. But, this doesn't even sound real. This sounds like, your regular Trump hyperbole. And that's not an insult. The man just speaks in hyperbole. But listen to this. Peace in the Middle East, huh?
Last night, we reached a momentous breakthrough in the Middle East, something that people said was never going to be done. We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace. And I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace.
Well, everlasting peace is probably not in the cards. I mean, everlasting, like for infinity, there's never going to be a war there again, like not even in 2,000, 5,000 years. All right, that sounds unbelievable, especially considering we can't get like 5 months of peace in the Middle East. But, okay, think back to your entire life. If this gets solved, if this gets stopped, even just temporarily and for an indefinite amount of time, has it ever been more peaceful than it is now in your entire life? There's always been something going on, in the late 70s, you had the, Lebanon was blowing up and starting their little civil war. You had the Islamic Revolution in Iran that took a country that was almost in first world territory and took it back to the 7th century. You had the Iran-Iraq war, then that gave birth to Saddam Hussein, and then there was the invasion of Kuwait, and then there was the Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and then there was the follow-ups to that, and then there was the War on Terror in 2001. We had to go flip over a couple tables in that part of the world. So the Middle East has always been a basket case. But has it ever been better than it is right now? There's the Syrian civil war that was happening, what was that, like 10 years ago, up until recently when they finally got rid of Bashar al-Assad. I don't know if it's better off now than it was before. We had the Arab Spring that was happening under Obama, Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, they all got flipped over. Has it ever been more peaceful than it is now? Where's the conflicts that are happening in the Middle East? Now, I'm not saying it's great. There's still the Houthi rebels down in Yemen causing problems. I would even roll in the Somali pirate issue with that region of the world, so things aren't great, but that's comparing it to like what's going on over here. That's comparing it to like the placid neighbors of Canada. For the Middle East, though, that wasn't an insult. That was a compliment. For the Middle East, though, this is pretty damn good. So if we'll find out really quick if this is going to go forward, because there's two metrics that were set up in the press conference that I just played for you. Number one is the hostages, both alive and the bodies of dead hostages. They're supposed to be returned to Israel by the end of Tuesday. If they're not, all bets are off. We're going back to Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. The other one is Donald Trump had mentioned, and he didn't give a date and a time, but a trip to the Middle East. That's going to be your next big bellwether on if this amazing accomplishment can happen. Now, let's talk about what happens if this is a legit peace deal and this does hold for months or years or whatever. Some people are saying, well, if this happens, well, then Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. Bro, that's soft pedaling it. If he can bring peace to the Middle East, because he's already shut up Iran. Remember the bombing that happened just a few months ago? You were told that, we're kicking off World War III. This is going to be a calamity. He's starting another war. Your sons are going to get drafted and sent overseas to die in the desert. What happened? Ceasefire. Absolute calm ever since. So he's got that quieting down. The Houthi rebels still kind of a thing. But if they're the only ones that are popping off in the Middle East and everyone turns their attention on them, that's not going to last long. Iraq's calmed down. Some people say the Iraq war was a mistake. Well, I think the 28 million Iraqis that don't have to live under Saddam Hussein probably prefer this Iraq to the one that was there previous. Lebanon, I mean, about as chill as Lebanon's been in your lifetime. I've met a few Lebanese, and they tell you things that just aren't in the news, and you're like, oh, God, that's bad. And they're like, yeah, but it's better. It's better than it was in the 80s. That's for damn sure. So Syria, what's going on over there? I don't know how long that thing is going to be somewhat stable compared to what it usually is. But we all know the middle of the tornado that is Middle East unrest is a situation going on with Israel and the Palestinians. And if we can actually put out that fire, Donald Trump not only deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, they should just award it to him every day. I mean, every year for the rest of his life. Someone should nominate him. Every year that the peace holds, he should just keep getting. He should maybe like score like 15 or 20 of them before he dies. Just every year that he's still alive, he gets another one. Every year that this peace holds and he's still alive, he should get another one. Because what is he now? He's like 81. How old is Trump? So let's say he lives another 15. He'll be 80 next year. Thank you, Garrett. So let's say he lives to like 95. He should be lining up to get 15 Nobel Peace Prizes. He should be like the Michael Phelps of Peace Prizes. He just puts them all around his neck, and you can't even see his thorax or his, what am I trying to say? Abdomen, chest. So yeah, this is a huge deal if it sticks, and really, I certainly hope it does. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next on The James Show, Governor Abbott's cracking down on political messages on Texas crosswalks. And yes, we're talking about the rainbow ones. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, are the rainbow crosswalks going to be gone soon? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. There was a new directive from the governor that was signed and announced yesterday, and it seems to be kind of aimed at the rainbow crosswalks without being too specific toward that. But generally speaking, you know what? You got to hear how the media is reporting on this. I think that's more fun than the actual story itself. Because look, the rainbow crosswalks aren't like a universal thing that's everywhere. It's only in like maybe 5 cities in Texas. We have them, of course, in Austin. I'm surprised they don't have them in every crosswalk in Austin. San Antonio, Houston, Dallas. We have one over here that's not too far from the station at Oak Lawn and Cedar Springs. There's one in a district in El Paso. You know what? El Paso has a Pride district? Yeah, they do. But look, come with me on this journey around Texas media and see how the different towns are dealing with this. Really, the people in Houston seem to be the most down to earth about it. Like they saw this coming because they've already been having a back and forth with the governor about a crosswalk in Montrose. Like it had been painted rainbow. And then they had to do some construction on that intersection. And when they put it back together, they just put a regular crosswalk. And so then they fussed. They're like, you didn't replace the rainbow. And they're like, well, that's not our job. And so they raised the money themselves and replaced the rainbow. And so that, in fact, that might be the one that's on the governor's mind when he signed this. So here's KPRC out of Houston.
Governor Greg Abbott is threatening to withhold road fundings from cities that do not remove political or ideological markings from streets. Houston, along with San Antonio and Austin, have rainbow crosswalks just like this that could be targeted under the governor's directive. The governor says taxpayer dollars should be used for safe roads, not political messages. The move follows a national push by U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy to remove street art like rainbow crosswalks, similar to the governor's remarks.
Okay, so the key I want you to take away from that is that one sentence where she said the governor said the crosswalks and markings on the road should be all about safety and not political ideology. There's going to be some people who do this little red herring straw man argument on, hey, rainbow sidewalks aren't a safety issue. What kind of idiot wrecks their car because they see it? That's not what he's talking about. It's about the propaganda that is stuck in the middle of the road in a public roadway in something that's not supposed to be political. It's not supposed to be ideological. It's just supposed to be a road. In fact, it's a government entity. So, we should insist on neutrality. That's not what we have now. So let's go to some of the more unhinged ones. Really, one of the two wildest ones were San Antonio and El Paso. Let me play you San Antonio first. This is KENS Channel 5 in San Antonio.
Governor Abbott is calling for the removal of what he calls political or ideological messaging from Texas roadways, and that could affect a well-known crosswalk in San Antonio's Pride District.
And the directive is raising new questions about what counts as a distraction on the roads. Ken's 5's Earl Sotomayor joining us live.
No, hang on. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This isn't about, this is a safety because there's distractions on the road. We're not worried about the distractions. And no one's saying the rainbow crosswalks are a distraction and make things unsafe. They're just saying the paintings on the road should be about safety and nothing else, not a political message. The problem isn't that, it makes us unsafe. The problem is the propaganda. The problem is the exploitation of government property and public funds to push your ideology.
Now, from this strip, Earl, the governor's order goes beyond just suggestions. What kind of enforcement are we talking about here?
Audrey Berry, Governor Abbott did throw TxDOT in the mix, saying that everyone needs to follow roadway safety guidelines. So with an example right behind me, this is an area that can be included in what Governor Abbott is talking about with the rainbow crosswalk here in the Pride LGBT district. So with this guideline and landmark, the city, they have 30 days to follow this, but if they don't do this within 30 days, state and federal funds can be withheld. And on top of this, contracts with the city and TxDOT, those can be suspended. So that's work that involves any work with 1604, all the construction in downtown. All of this can stop because of this discussion. And in the Pride Cultural Heritage District, some feel this isn't about safety.
It's
completely
not
in the name of politics, and it's in the name of trying to eradicate and erase the history, culture, and the existence of the LGBT community in any city in Texas.
This is not about erasing or eradicating the history or culture of gay people? Oh my God. We don't have Jesus saves in the crosswalks. If we did, y'all would pitch a fit. And if we removed it, would that be trying to erase the history and the culture and eradicate the Christians of Texas? No. So this level of hyperbole, it's just juvenile. It's not even a legit argument. And they're not even trying to have an honest argument here. They're just trying to make you think that we're Team Red is evil. I got it. We're evil.
It's very disappointing that something that is harmless, that is meant to unify a city, community, is being used to just further divide people.
Now, the Rainbow Crosswalk was first installed in 2018. In San Antonio, they had an official dedication to make this area an official district during Pride Month in June this year. James Poindexter, Secretary of Pride San Antonio, stressed he's ready for potential legal battles if it means preserving the Rainbow Crosswalk and Pride Cultural Heritage District.
Wait a second. Why stop at the crosswalks? Why do we have officially recognized pride districts to begin with? When did this start? Because look, I'm not against gays or people being gay or whatever the heck it is. Go have a good time. I love hanging out on Oak Lawn and Cedar Springs. That's a fun time. It's a good Halloween parade. I've had a lot of good times out there. But listen, do we have any officially recognized districts for the method of sex that actually sustains humanity? Do we have any officially recognized districts that celebrate any of the values and ideals that reflect you? Is there a Christian district, like an officially recognized, this is a Christian district, or this is a straight district, or this is a district that celebrates traditional marriage? No. What if we tried to do a white district? I mean, imagine it would look like the battle scene from Braveheart if we tried to do, oh my God, not a white district. See, the Nazis are taking over. Do we have a men's district? Do we have a Jesus district? What is with the special connotations and recognition that this one group gets from government? That's not cool either. So actually, the rainbow crosswalks don't really bother me other than the fact that it's public roadways being used for blatant political propaganda. Coming up next on The James Show, you and I are going to imagine how much fun it would be to see the reaction of these same people if the crosswalks were being used for propaganda messages they don't like. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, the governor wants to get rid of political ideology and crosswalks. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. If you're just joining us, I'm walking into another example because we've been going around Texas seeing what the reaction is. And really, one of the wildest reports I got on this came from El Paso, out in the West Texas town of El Paso. I know, it's a bad pun. But K-Fox 14. Check this one out.
A rainbow crosswalk that currently stands on Stanton and Missouri in downtown El Paso. It takes up all four corners of that intersection. But this crosswalk could soon go away following Governor Greg Abbott's new directive to TxDOT. The move is sparking mixed reactions from El Pasoans I spoke with today. Some say it's about safety, while others see it as something more.
Well, I think that safety is most important.
Me personally, I'm not stupid, so I'm not going to be distracted by a rainbow crosswalk.
Today.
Look, there it is again. The red herring, the straw man that this is about safety. This is not about safety. The governor didn't even say it's about safety. The governor said it's about political messaging, propaganda being used on public roads, public funds, public roads. They should remain politically neutral. And I know it's really hard for anything that's in the hand of government for a long enough time span to not be abused for political purposes. But that's what's going on here. And quite obviously, that should stop. That shouldn't be a thing. Again, the rainbow crosswalk doesn't really bother me. It's not the message. It's the fact that public roadways, tax dollars, or sometimes, even if it's privately funded, your public roadways are being used for blatant political propaganda. And that's what the governor said in his statement. Now, they're pretending like this is about safety. It has nothing to do with safety. And what you'll notice, this is the third TV station that I've played a report on. No one actually addresses the criticism of the crosswalks other than the safety argument. So you don't hear both sides of the argument. No one in these three stations, they're all doing like 3-minute reports on this last night. None of them brought up the fact that, hey, maybe we shouldn't have political propaganda in the crosswalks. But anyway, I'll let them continue.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott directed Texas Department of Transportation to ensure counties and cities are in compliance with federal and state guidelines regarding roadway safety. Back in July, U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy launched the Safe Roads Initiative. Abbott's office says under those guidelines, non-standard surface markings, signage, and signals that do not directly support traffic control or safety are prohibited. That includes the use of symbols, flags, or other markings conveying social, political, or ideological messages. Abbott's office says any city that refuses to comply will face consequences, including the withholding or denial of state and federal road funding and suspension of agreements with TxDOT. Well, this rainbow flag has graced this crosswalk at Missouri and Stanton for years now, but many fear that new TxDOT directive could mean they have to go.
I think it's just generally a part of a bigger plan to kind of revert back into a place where we're not as accepting and tolerant of these different lifestyles.
But really it will affect us because it's like our expression. Every symbol is the way we are.
While some other residents say safety first.
If people get so riled up in their cars to where they hit a fire hydrant or hit the car in front of them, it's really more so about the community and just
we just gotta stop. No one's claiming that people are being distracted by the rainbow crosswalk and hitting a fire hydrant. Who are you even talking to? What terrible kind of reporting is this? This isn't news. This is political propaganda defending political propaganda. But listen, for the woke bedwetters out there, the 5 of you who are listening to this show who thinks that this is okay, imagine how much fun it would be to see crosswalks being used for propaganda messages that these people don't like. Let's leave the rainbow crosswalks in place. Team Red can start playing that game. We can paint pro-gun crosswalks, see if they love that, see if that flies with them. It'll say, we'll put "come and take it" on a crosswalk. We could just write out the text of the Second Amendment on a crosswalk. We could have it in all the suburbs, the medium-sized cities, small towns. There would be hundreds of thousands of Team Red crosswalks. What do you think the reaction from these same people would be if we put "Jesus Saves" on all the crosswalks? Oh, they'd be all over themselves out in the streets. Oh my God, it's separation of church and state. This is political propaganda. This is indoctrination. How about we paint a crosswalk of Jesus in a MAGA hat shooting Bud Light cans with an AR-15. Wouldn't that be a great crosswalk? How about we just keep the rainbow crosswalks and we play the game too? You know, it'd really drive them nuts. Just paint the word Trump on a crosswalk. Oh my goodness, these people would lose it. A Noah's Ark on a rainbow cross. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying, because the connection with the Noah's story and the rainbow, and I'll never do the flood again. All right, bringing it back to Jesus. Thank you, Garrett. But yeah, they probably would actually see Trump wreck and hit a fire hydrant. But one of the reasons Team Red, you, me, we have such an uphill battle in these culture wars is we aren't even really playing the game. So keep track of this story. Lawsuits are about to fly. Are you okay with getting rid of rainbow crosswalks, or do you think that's erasing an entire minority of people? 800-288-9227. Maroon 5, Love is Like tour coming to American Airlines Center November 7th. Special guest Claire Rosenkrantz. Get tickets and information livenation.com. The WBAP Morning Show has your last chance to win tickets tomorrow morning. More on the governor's new crosswalk initiative coming up on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Are rainbow crosswalks going away in Texas? It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Good to see you, fellow Texans. How you doing out there? And just comes from a government. I mean, the governor put out an order yesterday afternoon, and the reaction to it is pathetic because it's completely dishonest, and they're making a straw man about the argument against the rainbow crosswalks, beating the snot out of that straw man, but not actually ever making the case here. I've already played you 3 reports from 3 different TV stations. Did anyone make the case why it's okay to have political propaganda in the streets? No, they didn't. They argued against the fact that, well, it's not really a safety issue. It doesn't make anyone less safe. It's not going to cause anybody to crash. That's not the reason why we want to get rid of it. No one's really concerned about the safety aspect. The real reason, propaganda. That's all it is. And I think maybe some of the people who are in favor of the rainbow crosswalks, I think they might feel different if they didn't agree with the message that was being thrown out there. And so we were just having a little fun with that. And I was thinking, man, we should start painting AR-15s or the word Trump on sidewalks and see what they say there. Because you know what would happen? There would just be lawsuits all over the place. They would say, you can't do that. It's political propaganda. Actually, they would probably say, that's what literally Hitler would do. And okay, I got it. We're Nazis. That's what the Nazis did, right? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. If you're just joining us, I can get you caught up. This is KPRC in Houston.
Governor Greg Abbott is threatening to withhold road fundings from cities that do not remove political or ideological markings from streets. Houston, along with San Antonio and Austin, have rainbow crosswalks just like this that could be targeted under the governor's directive. The governor says taxpayer dollars should be used for safe roads, not political messages. The move follows a national push by U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy to remove street art like rainbow crosswalks, similar to the governor's remarks.
Yeah, and aren't these the same people who are griping about the 10 Commandments being in school classrooms? They're like, that's just propaganda. You're just indoctrinating children. You're just So what are the crosswalks? I love this. I love this story. Roy in Maybank, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James.
Hey, Roy.
Quick question on the governor's order and how the media will react. Does that include crosswalks such as all the BLM crosswalks in South Dallas?
Oh, I didn't know we have BLM crosswalks in South Dallas.
Several. I have to drive through that area in the morning to avoid traffic. So, yeah, I get to see them. Martin Luther King Boulevard, all down in that area.
Oh, wow. Roy, I'm going to have to plead ignorance on that. You just told me something about something that's happening a few blocks from me.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Well, from the wording of the governor's order, then yes, any political messaging, and that would include, I guess, BLM messages would be removed from crosswalks. So,
well, how do you think the media will handle that?
I don't even think they know about that yet. And you know what they're going to say? Well, they're trying to erase the history. They're trying to rewrite history or erase our existence or whatever what they were saying in El Paso or whatever. So, yeah, you know how they're going to react to it.
Absolutely.
Well, you're making a great point.
Much. Love the show.
Well, I'm glad you called in and pointed that out. That makes me want. I'll go look this up. I'm sure someone has a picture of it on Reddit or something somewhere. So thank you very much, Roy. This is Richard in Collinsville. You're on WBAP.
Well, I think that, first of all, there should be a law that states there can be no ideologic crosswalks in the state of Texas, and that would simplify the issue, because you're exactly right. They are promoting a propaganda issue. It's like this business of gay and lesbian and rainbow and all of these adjectives that they use to try to clean up their image. And it's all wrong. It's all baloney. They're all queers one way or another, and we don't need it. I mean, the rainbow crosswalk is just, as you said, propaganda. And it's propaganda that causes a lot of the division in this country. We don't need propaganda. What we need is good information. As a matter of fact, this nation was founded by people who set up a government management system that is not a democracy. It's a representative republic that uses some democratic methods to elect our representatives. So we're a representative republic designed to be run by a biblical society who is well educated and well informed. And if we spent more time focused on getting those three things done, I don't think we'd have many problems.
Yeah, and that's pretty good attitude you got there, Richard, because it also feels like to me when you made me think of the battle that's happening in public school libraries right now, where you're being called a Nazi for wanting to ban books. And it's like, well, no, we don't want to put obscene sexual material in front of a 6-year-old, especially without their parents' approval. And the same people who talk about, you're evil for wanting to ban books. What about teaching the Bible in school? Not that book. Oh, they're the original book banners. The Bible's been banned in school since 1960 or whatever. Prayer in school that case was. So no, all good points.
That was that Madeline Murray, who was a woman who got her comeuppance in the end. Did you hear how she died?
No.
Oh yeah. She's the one that got the Bible banned from schools, basically.
I know the name, but I don't know the story. How'd she die?
Well, she wound up getting killed by some people that she brought in that she thought were on her team. They killed her for her money, because she kept a lot of cash around, and they stuffed her and I think it was her son, or I believe it was her son, in a couple of 50-gallon drums after they chopped them up.
God, that's awful.
So that was her end. That was her reward. But it comes full circle back to people like Bernie Sanders claiming that socialism is not communism, and this moron that's running for mayor in New York who says I'm a democratic socialist. Well, that's an oxymoron. There's no such thing as a democratic socialist. In fact, I can give anyone out there listening irrefutable proof that communism, socialism, fascism, Islamic caliphatism, they're all nothing more than old-fashioned dictatorships. And I can prove to you that socialism is communism. I can also prove that socialism is Nazism. It's very simple. When the communists were running Russia, they used the acronym USSR. You know what it meant?
Yeah, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, not Union of Soviet Communist Republics. You're making some good points. I'm just out of time there, Richard. Thank you for calling in from Collinsville. Coming up next, State Representative Brian Harrison. We're not going to gripe about what's going on in the legislature for one segment here. We're going to talk about the case of this Roberson guy that's on death row, and does he deserve to be put to death for shaken baby syndrome? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Is shaken baby syndrome a thing? It's the James Show, News Talk 820 FM WBAP. Well, it used to be a thing. Now some doctors are saying it's not a thing. And now there's a guy that's caught in limbo because he's going to be put to death for shaken baby syndrome. And now it's not a thing anymore. And is he still going to be put to death? One of the guys fighting it, State Rep Brian Harrison, back on the James Show. And this is interesting because now we're not going to gripe about what a terrible job the state legislature is doing. We're going to be talking about sort of a true crime situation we have here in Texas. And I'm glad you're coming on because, let me just be a little vulnerable here. I don't know all the details of this case, so I don't have a strong opinion either way. So explain this to us like we've never heard it before. All right. State Rep Brian Harrison, I understand that trials can have errors. And what about the appeals process? These factors that you talked about, they didn't come up through any of the appeals process? All right, can you continue for another break here? I know we only scheduled you for one, but I have some questions. A little bit. Okay, well, thank you very much. We will continue with State Rep Brian Harrison on the case of Robert Roberson, who's facing the death penalty, and a lot of people are saying that we should really rethink this one. And I will give Brian Harrison a little bit of pushback from the critics next on the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. It's your chance to win part of 5K a day on WBAP. Your chance at $1,000 right now. Pay off some bills. Just text CARD to 95819. That's CARD, C-A-R-D, to 95819, and you could score $1,000. Sponsored locally by Mullen & Mullen Entry Law Firm. Good luck. Yeah, we're just debating a man's life. No big deal. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, continuing with State Rep Brian Harrison. He's out of Midlothian area, but he's one of the advocates here. And that, you know, this story has caught a lot of media attention. And one of the reasons I'm interested in it is, you know, State Rep Brian Harrison, you're a pro death penalty guy, and you don't always match up with, like, the Innocence Project. They're always against anyone being executed at all times ever. Every case they've ever reviewed, the guy didn't deserve to be killed. So they mean nothing to me. The Marshall Project, they mean nothing to me. But there have been people that I respect their opinion in so many other facets, like you. Dr. Phil has spoken out on behalf of this guy, the novelist John Grisham, a fantastic writer, by the way. So now you've got my attention. And, you know, I have a shortcoming. I'm not interested in forensics like the rest of America. You're like 5 of the top 10 shows or like Law and Order or Cold Case or something. My wife loves them. I don't have that gene in my body. So I'm not as good at stories like this as other people. But what evidence was presented in his trial that made the jurors in Anderson County think that he was guilty? And so I've tried to look that up, and near as I can find is it wasn't just shaken baby syndrome. There were other injuries that were pointed at. And what's the excuse for that, or what's the comeback to that? What about the soft spot on her head? Right. Mm-hmm. Oh. All right. Well, that was a good job breaking down the case. State Representative Brian Harrison getting out of politics, coming with guns blazing. Well, I hope there's at least a retrial. So we'll keep an eye on this, and maybe we'll. Well, good stuff. State Rep Brian Harrison, thanks for being on the James Show. Coming up next, Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express on the report that is everyone okay with the fact that Frisco's 1/3 Indian immigrants now? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Do you ever get in an older car and you giggle because there's an ashtray in the door handle in the back seat? You're like, oh, remember when people used to smoke in cars? That's what the people are going to think about painting your home here in a few years. James Parker here for Rhino Shield, because we don't do that anymore. We've had paint. Now we have something new. Technology has left paint obsolete, and it's called Rhino Shield. It's 8 to 10 times thicker than paint, but it won't change your surface texture. You'll still get that pretty wood grain or the brick texture or the stucco or whatever you put it on, because, it bonds to everything. It's fully breathable. It blocks out 90% of UV sun rays. It has a 6.9 R factor, so it lowers your energy cost. Paint doesn't do any of that. And here's the real kicker. It lasts longer than paint. How long does it last? We don't even know yet, because the technology is so new. It's only 25 years old, and so we know it lasts at least 25 years. But still, houses that were had covered with Rhino Shield 25 years ago, there's still no cracking, no flaking, no peeling. So you get a 25-year transferable warranty, which it would be longer, but that's the only timetable we have now. So you don't paint your house anymore. You coat your home. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Did you know a third of Frisco is Indian immigrants? That sounds way too high in my book. James Parker here on the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I saw the report. It was linked to another story I was reading on the Dallas Express. So I'm bringing Chris Putnam back on, the guy who runs the Dallas Express. First off, welcome back to the show. I feel like that can't be true, Chris. A third of Frisco, because look, I haven't spent a whole lot of time in Frisco lately, but I did about 20 years or so ago, and I don't remember it being that bad. So this is, if anything, a new development. But is that even a real number, Chris? Oh, I didn't know this was a South Lake issue too. Okay, so the explanation I have on this is an unfettered illegal immigration where people are just streaming over the border to pick crops. These are people that are being brought here somewhat legally. The H-1B visa seems to be one of the big culprits, and the excuse is, well, we just need their technical expertise to work at some of these tech firms and headquarters that are in the Plano, Frisco area. And so this is not even a problem with illegal immigration, but this is a legal immigration situation. So is this even really a problem? T-Mobile, Amerisource, yeah, but there's a ton of Oracle's there. IKEA's got a big one. There's a couple other technology companies. It's kind of close to the Intel one, and that I think is in Plano, if I remember correctly. So I think one of the, go ahead. Okay, so one of the criticisms I hear of even pointing this out is, well, you're xenophobic, you're anti-immigrant, you just want this country to be straight white Christian males, and that's not really the case here. You know, the concern about people coming here in droves and outnumbering the natives is that they turn it into wherever they came from. And if you think I'm exaggerating on that, how did we get Texas, y'all? How did that happen? We came here until we outnumbered the natives 10-1, and then we revolted and petitioned the mother country for annexation. That's how we got Texas. Hell, that's how we got America to begin with. So when people talk about unfettered immigration, whether it's legal or illegal, you got to ask, oh, how'd that work out for the Indians? How'd that work out for the people who were in Texas before it was Texas? So I think there's some legit criticism here. Here's where that concern really kicks in. In the report that I saw on Dallas Express, there's an elementary school, McSpedden, that is over 70% Indian children. Now, are we still going to be an American country if 70% of our elementary schools are non-Americans? You know what? Let's talk about that a little bit more after the break here, because we're talking with Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express and a report that about a third of Frisco is now Indian immigrants. And is that really what's good for Frisco? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I would love to hear from you if you're a Frisco resident who's been there for the last 20 years and experienced and can tell us what it's like. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. What's with all the Indians in Frisco? Hey, it's James Parker on the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WPAP. I know, good to see you too. Welcome back to the James Show. We're continuing with Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express, dallasexpress.com. It's his news website there. And just a quick recap if you're just joining us. A report shows that almost a third of Frisco's residents are Indian immigrants. Now, we expect most of them are here legally. And if you're like, well, why is that a big deal? Well, 20 years ago, it was 2.5%. Now it's over 30%. So that's like a 4,000% increase. And one of the culprits here seems to be the H-1B visa. And the criticism here is that unless you absolutely need these people and you can't find it anywhere in America, then you're just taking jobs from Americans, bringing in their lower paid replacements, and it's totally unnecessary. It's just hurting American people. So, Chris, with that reset here, is that a fair comparison to say that every single one of these H-1B visas is an American job that's stolen? Well, let's look at the positive side here. These immigrants, number one, they're legal, so there's at least a vetting process. We're not bringing in a bunch of murderers and rapists and people we can't run a background check on. It's not a bunch of cartel members. These are, somewhat skilled, somewhat educated, mostly white-collar workers. They don't really cause any trouble. They're not known to commit crime. They're not doing drive-bys. They're not, running drugs. Their median household income is higher than the state average. Their median home value is higher than the state average. Crime rate below national average. So really, should we even be concerned that they're here? So before I was in radio, when I went to college, I was studying IT, and I could code and I can do all kinds of computer stuff. And when I first got out of college, I got a job here in Dallas, and after a year, my entire operation was outsourced to India. And so I feel like this is almost like a bizarro outsourcing where instead of having, the IT department in India, you bring the Indians here and you have the same people doing that job, but now they're in our backyard. And so I don't know if there's a solution to this because all I see is trade-offs. Well, and they're legally obligated to do that because it's in the shareholder interest. Yeah, I get it. Well, and look, part of me feels for these immigrants here. They're like, hey, we're coming here. We're helping out. We're not committing crimes. We're paying taxes. We have nice houses, nice income. We're doing white collar jobs, high tech, moving the whole tech industry forward. So I have some advice for them. If you want to have people be less weirded out, assimilate. Have a little effort of assimilating. Buy yourself a cowboy jersey. Go to football games at the high school on Friday nights. Just start dressing, looking like us, and we'll be pretty accepting here. But I see the viral videos of someone going into a Costco in Frisco, and it looks like a Costco in Mumbai. And there's nothing racist inherently about being concerned with a radical, sudden demographic change, and people's hometown doesn't look anything like it looked 20 years ago. I think there's a legit complaint on both sides here. Oh, absolutely not. Yeah. Totally agree. Well, it's a complex issue. It's fun to have this discussion, and that's one of the reasons I love your outlet there, Dallas Express. It's because there's a lot of other media outlets that wouldn't even touch this story because they're afraid of being called racist or xenophobic or literally Hitler or whatever. But legit conversation to be had about what's happening in our own backyard up in Frisco. Now, coming up next, thank you very much, Chris Putnam, Dallas Express. I have a couple people on hold, but if you are in Frisco and if you've been there for the last 20 years and you have witnessed this, describe to the rest of us what you see and what it's like. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. What's with all the Indians in Frisco? We'll continue with that next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, Cowboys fans, there's a game tonight. Yeah, Thursday night football. It's against two teams that we wish they could both lose, the Eagles and the Giants. Is there any way they could both lose? Well, listen, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. I'm going to be keeping up with this game with a little bit of extra interest because in my lineup for tonight's game, here's what I did. Jalen Hurts, 0.5 passing touchdowns. You pick more or less. If he gets one, I pick more. If he gets one passing touchdown, boom, I win that one. Saquon Barkley, 0.5 touchdowns. That's rushing or receiving touchdowns. So if Saquon Barkley gets a touchdown, boom, I get that square. And then I have a third one that's Jackson Dart, the quarterback for the Giants. It's 0.5 passing touchdowns. So if he gets a touchdown, boom, I win that square. However, if it's going to be a shutout, if there's going to be a problem, and only two of my squares are correct, I used the flex play for today's lineup. So only two of those squares have to be correct for me to turn a little bit of money into a little bit more money. So that's how easy it is. It's Prize Picks. You make a lineup, 2 to 6 players. You look at a statistic. You pick more or less, just like I described. America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Millions of users, billions in prizes awarded, and you can win up to 2,000 times your money. If you're new to Prize Picks, you get a little bonus action there. Download the Prize Picks app, use promo code WBAP, and that'll get you $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP, get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, It's good to be right. So what's with all the Indians in Frisco? It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Now that I've got your attention, there's some reports with the numbers is what caught my eye here. 20 years ago, the Indian population in Frisco was 2.5%. Now it's gone up over 4,000%, almost 1/3 of the city. And so you also see concerns about the population in elementary schools. In McSpedden Elementary School, it is over 70% Indian, 15% white, 6% Hispanic, and all the other races are just dwindling down the horizon here. So what's going on here? Well, it sounds like the legal immigration system is being abused, where they're bringing in folks to do some of these tech jobs. And so there's a few issues here. Are we displacing Americans who would otherwise have those jobs? And these are pretty good paying jobs. You know, this isn't mowing a lawn or scraping the algae off the side of your pool. These are mostly tech jobs, white collar jobs, a big chunk of which pay six figures. But on the other side, you know, this isn't a community that's crime ridden. This isn't a community that has a whole lot of negativity with it that you see from some of the other immigrants. This isn't cartel members. These aren't rapists and murderers. They have a higher average median income, higher average home price, tax-paying, educated workers, tech companies. So what's the deal? And it's uncomfortable for a lot of people to talk about because, you know, the racial angle, but it's not racist to be concerned with a radical, sudden demographic change in your hometown. That doesn't make you a bad person. And we've also seen what happens when there's unfettered immigration, legal or illegal, where the foreign-born population starts to outnumber the native population. That's how we got America. And then that's how we got Texas. And then that's how we got California. So if you want to keep America, America, if you want to keep Texas, Texas, you can't have people coming in here in numbers beyond their assimilation capacity. And since there's over 1 billion Indians out there, if we brought them all over here, this would not be Texas anymore. Now, would it? But I'm looking from the outside in. I don't live in Frisco. I haven't spent a whole lot of time up there. And so I'm asking for people who have seen this firsthand to share their stories. And we're going to start with who's been on longest, Chad. Chad in Frisco, you're on WBAP.
Hey James, thanks for taking this on with Chris, man. It's this one hits home for me, and I see all these different angles to it, but I'm just going to share something with you that I think hopefully this resonates with others. We moved to Texas 10 years ago, and we chose Frisco because the school ISD was one of the top 5. We couldn't afford Highland Park at the time. So, you know, number 3 or something at that time was Frisco for our children. We moved there, moved into a community west of the Star, where the Star is now. And it was one of those times where you're buying, and if you didn't buy right then, there was 10 people in line going to buy behind you. So we moved into a new community, moved into a new home, and it kept building around us. The community we moved into had about 250 homes. By the time it was completed, there was 5 families that were not of Indian descent. Let me be clear, we had 0 issues, we had 0 crime, you know, just like everybody has said, right? No personal problems with anyone. The challenge is they changed the culture so much in these neighborhoods or communities that you no longer, because they do not assimilate, which you've mentioned several times, you don't grow up in Texas, right? You don't grow up in the United States of America. And that's for the first time ever. I'm a Midwest grown guy. First time ever, I realized what it was like to be an extreme minority in a community, and it did not feel good.
Well, you know, we saw microcosms of this throughout the country's history where, you know, if you go into the cities on the coast, there will be a little Italy in New York, or there will be a Chinatown in San Francisco. And so you've had like this hesitation of assimilation, but only when you get concentrations of these people to where they're the majority in their neighborhood. But eventually you see it kind of dwindling out. But I don't see how it dwindles out if you keep up this level of immigration for much longer.
Yeah, our kids weren't able to even like enjoy the neighborhood, like, because culturally they you know what I mean, they stick to themselves, their own groups. They're not as welcoming. Like the community pool, the elders, the older gentlemen, they were the elders essentially. They would create their circle of trust at night and kind of take over, and people were intimidated because they're culturally kind of not as welcome. Doesn't mean they're not great human beings, but they're not open to saying, hey, come on in, you know, come swim, you know what I mean? We're just hanging out. Like that doesn't happen. So people get naturally intimidated because there isn't that. Like, I mean, I would wave to people of Indian descent, and a lot of times they would just stare at you. And I'm like, you know, I just do one of those high five, you know how you high five yourself when somebody leaves you hanging, you're just trying to do that on a regular basis. And that just became the thing. it's not about I love a human being, but it's just such a takeover when it's a complete community or neighborhood and you literally change. I mean, we just moved up to Prosper and it's changing already there to the point of brand new school. Like they're talking about maybe not enough students for a football team because the demographic has changed so much. I mean, you want to talk about changing Texas high school not having a football team? What? I mean, that's crazy talk.
That is madness. That is it. Listen, Indian immigrants, if you want to win us over, it probably needs to start with football and then your music selection. You people that are playing your music really loud and whatever the stuff is, we're not familiar with it. And if you want to, I don't know, maybe play a little Morgan Wallen or something out of your pickup truck, I think that would go a long way to easing relations with your neighbors. Thank you for sharing your story, Chad. Listen, the phones are full, so don't bother calling. But all you people on hold, y'all all look great. I can't wait to hear your stories and your explanation on what is going on with all the Indians in Frisco. You'll hear from people in Frisco next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. It's your chance to win part of 5K a day on WBAP. Your chance at $1,000 right now. Pay off some bills. Just text CENT to 95819. That's CENT, C-E-N-T, to 95819, and you could score $1,000. Sponsored locally by Mullen & Mullen Injury Law Firm. Good luck. So what is with the wild population explosion of Indians in Frisco? A new report caught my eye. The numbers are staggering. The Indian population in Frisco is up 4,510% over the last 20 years and still rising by the day. There's some schools in the Frisco ISD that are more than 70% Indian children. And a lot of the natives, the locals there, are feeling like they're in a foreign country in their own hometown. And now we're going to spend some time. You've heard enough from me. Let's just talk to people who are dealing with this on the ground, just a few miles north of where I'm broadcasting right now. Let's go to Elizabeth. This is Elizabeth and Electra. You're on WBAP.
Hey, Parker. Love the U2 intro. By the way, how I got wrapped up into this with personal experience is I grew up, like every girl here in America, dreaming of being a princess, I guess, like childish dreams and stuff like that. And then as I got older, I appreciated certain ethnicities for how they were more towards family and how they took care of their women and so on and so forth. Fell in love with American boy. We were supposed to get married. Didn't happen. Family got in the way. Abusive family members. And throughout my life, thereafter, I became disaffected because I was taken advantage of and abused. I was very pretty when I was younger. I'm not any longer, but I was so pretty that I was taken advantage of left and right. And I was very naive, too. So eventually I got tired of being used by American men, so I decided to try a foreigner who happened to be, from what he's told me, he's from India. I don't know. He's more the stature and otherwise of a Pakistani, in my opinion. He flew into the U.S. to New York City from South Africa, and he got into South Africa from Botswana. He came in on a 3-day visitor's conference visa, overstayed, found others within his Muslim Indian community that hid him out until they were able to get him certified for being sponsored for what they hired him for. And then he got me involved with him, lied to me, told me he wasn't married to anybody overseas back home, and had the religious ceremony, but after for marriage. But after that, he refused to do anything legally. And so, yeah, he was using me for what he hoped to be a green card. And he wanted to have babies right away. So he was going to use me for anger baby stuff, too. And I didn't know it. I was so dumb, naive, tech-wise.
How many babies did you have?
Huh?
How many babies did you have with him?
Twins. I had one pregnancy with twins, and before that, I had 4 or 5 miscarriages.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, within a year. And I'd never had miscarriages before. So I don't know what happened, but I know the miscarriages, I've tried to think back when the miscarriages started happening and everything, because it was shortly after everything, a few months, he had finally told me about
Elizabeth,
him coming in.
Your story's fascinating, but I've got 4 more people that I want to get their stories in too. What lessons do we need to learn from this in a sentence or two?
Make sure you know who you're dealing with, and always check on the legality of things, and be aware of when people refuse to do things legally because they're wrong. And there's so many things that I can tell you.
All right, send me an email because I want to hear the rest of that story. It does sound good. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. This is Tim in Burleson. You're on WBAP.
Hello.
Hey, Tim, go.
Oh, hey, man. Just real quick, like, so the immigrant community, you know, they're here, they're not going anywhere, they're driving, they pay their taxes, as you mentioned, they're generally not criminals. Why would they need to assimilate? Like, I go to New York, I go to San Francisco. Those guys in Chinatown, sometimes I question if they even know who the president is. And they seem to be functioning completely separate without doing so, and not in any hurry by any stretch of the means to assimilate. Like, why would your statement be like, oh, they need to buy a Cowboys jersey or something along those lines when they're perfectly comfortable being separate and individual, you know, on their own?
Because I don't want a balkanized America. I don't want us to be 18 different cultures that don't cohabitate. I want us to be the melting pot that was envisioned by the Western Enlightenment philosophers.
Well, Parker, we've never been a melting pot.
Yeah, we have.
Valid. I mean, no. I don't lose my identity when I join the group. I don't blend. I still keep a separate identity. I can still work within the group. I think a salad is a better metaphor. The tomatoes, the lettuce.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there. But Tim, you and I have look. You sound like you're a brother, but you and I have more in common with you than white people in Europe. So we have melted together. We have assimilated together. You and I can have a long talk about Dak Prescott. You and I don't know any of the rules of cricket, right?
You have your culture and I have mine. I don't have to absorb your culture. You don't have to absorb mine.
There can be variations within it, but I'm totally familiar with your culture and you're totally familiar with mine. You know who Garth Brooks is. I know who Drake is. Okay.
Right.
So
but I don't have to listen to the music to make you feel comfortable. I can still be my individual self.
Yes.
And not affect you whatsoever.
I'm not saying they have to stop being Indian or they have to drop all their culture and their music and totally adopt mine. I'm just saying that there has to be some overlap or we're going to balkanize. We're going to be Eastern Europe where neighbors are shooting at neighbors and not getting along and we're going to be at each other's backs and we will re-tribalize out.
Yeah, okay. All right, I just disagree with you, man. I don't think that we are. I think we are fighting becoming what we would naturally select it to be, and that is a homogenized community, eventually of one thing. But it seems like here of late, there is this nationalistic view that you have to believe these things, and we don't want diversity. And it's just, I think we're going in the wrong direction. But that's you guys' show.
Fair enough. All right. I'm glad you got that out then. That's Tim and Burleson. So the rest of you guys on hold, you all look awesome, and we all want to hear your stories coming up next because the question is, what's going on with the population explosion of Indians in Frisco, and is that necessarily a good thing or a bad thing? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. What's with the Indian population explosion in Frisco is the topic of the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. If you're just joining us, a report caught my attention big time. The Indian population's up over 4,000% in Frisco the last 20 years. Almost a third of Frisco's population is Indian immigrants. 70% of some schools are 70% Indian. And there's a whole lot of, videos that you can find online and on social media of people showing you places in Frisco that do not look like America. Is this a good thing, a bad thing? Are you indifferent to it? And how did we get here? What do we do about it? Well, we're finding out from a bunch of people in Frisco, or at least in the area here, who are experiencing this firsthand. Dave in Garland, you're on WBAP. Dave in Garland, go. Dave in Garland, going once, going twice. Fine. Sorry, Dave. Looked like a good call. Tim in Frisco, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James, how you doing, bud? Can you hear me?
Great, Tim. You sound good. Go.
Good. Hey, I'm 63. I moved to Frisco in 1990. I've been here 35 years, and I've seen everything grow here. I remember my biggest traffic jam was someone hauling hay, carrying cattle or horses. And, the population boom of the DESIs, DESI, and I'll explain what that is.
I think, does everyone know I know what DESI is. Do we all know what DESI is? Garrett, do you know what a DESI is? So that's the ethnicity, the ethnic, and really the phenotypes of the people. Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, they are pretty much one people, but they're separated by, pretty much the different religion for the most part. But yeah, it's just the umbrella term for the people from that area of the planet. So go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. I had a friend, or I have a friend. He's from Pakistan, and there's a Desi district that went up, and it's just like a shopping center. And I thought the Desi district was like a building group, or someone puts up commercial, shopping mall strips and things like that. So I asked him, what's a Desi? And he goes, well, that's not a derogatory term. It's just something that they call brown people from our part of the world, like you just said. It's like, okay, well, I was wondering why the Desi district over there, everything's like the Indian rugs, the soups, the curry foods, they're all over the place here. And I'm over here on West Frisco. Actually, I'm not in Collin County because I'm right on the line. I'm in Denton County.
Okay.
And I call them the Tesla driving Desis because all of them have, they all have their Teslas, and they all have the big yellow sticker on there, probably 2 or 3 of them. It says patient, student, driver. So when you see that, you can pull up next to them. You can bet 99 to 1 that they're going to be an Indian of some kind. And, they have assimilated for what I've seen. They're well-to-do. They're wearing their polo shirts. They're wearing their Nike hats. They speak pretty well. They speak English pretty good. I work with an Indian guy that was in the...
Well, that's what happens when you're colonized by the British Empire for 100 years and your education system is built on English. But yeah, that is a big plus because I find it amazingly frustrating how the people that want to sneak in here and not learn the language, at least they're good at English.
Yeah, they are. And they're very kind, and a lot of them that I meet, and I work at a very, very popular grocery store in Frisco, in the seafood department. They're all very kind. They're all very polite. They don't try to get a better price or something like that.
All right, hey, Tim, good story. I just want to try and squeeze in a couple more people here. Thank you, Tim. Jackie and Prosper, you're on WBAP. Quickly.
Yes, I work in Frisco, and I very much have seen the lack of assimilation working in Frisco. I reside and I have family that lives in Salina, Aubrey area. And so the influence is even to that direction as well. So as far as lacking to assimilate, I have family in Aubrey and Salina, and in those neighborhoods they're becoming predominantly Indian, and then at the Christie Elementary School out in that area, my granddaughters came home with henna markings on their hands, and they came home from school, and we're Christian, and they said, we don't know why somebody put this on our hands. Not only that, in the neighborhoods, on their religious holidays, more often than not, in the residential neighborhoods, they put together floats. They will drive up and down residential neighborhoods, impede traffic, and park their.
Yeah, I saw them blocking off streets and social media videos that went viral too. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that.
People are livid about it, and they're building a mosque out there. You know, when they go to the community swimming pool, for the most part, the women don't change their long, colorful dresses. They actually get into public pools in those dresses.
You know what?
So from a hygienic problem, nobody else wants to swim in the pool.
All right, Jackie, I got to cut you off there just because I'm out of time. But yeah, that's one of my sticking points. If you come from a culture that doesn't agree with women wearing a bikini, I'm not very tolerant of that. I'm a very pro-bikini guy, and I think America should always remain a pro-bikini society. And if you can't stand a bikini, then we have problems. All right, that's going to do it. I'm sorry I didn't get to all you people on hold. I see all of you. I feel like I let you down. But you can send me an email, james@wbap.com. I'll read all of those and probably revisit some of the responses I get on tomorrow's show. But thank you very much for hanging out today. If you need more James Show in the next 21 hours, go check out the podcast, wbap.com, WBAP app. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.